1988 Olympic Games with a victory over 97 world champion Tara Lipinski at Thrifty Car Rental Skate America International. For a decade, Todd Eldridge has been on the verge of Olympic glory, only to be denied. Once, his body failed him. Once, he failed himself. Eldridge almost walked away from the sport, but his dream and work ethic brought him back from the edge and led him to the world title. Now he pursues the only title that's eluded him, and the road to the Olympics has begun. Welcome, everyone, to Thrifty Car Rental Skate America International. We are in Detroit, Michigan, inside Joe Louis Arena, and we're getting set for the most important international competition held in the United States this year. Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Gannon. Welcome again to the first major step on the road to the Olympic Games. It's here in Detroit that skaters debut the programs we'll see throughout the entire competitive season, including the U.S. National and World Championships, which we will bring you right here on ABC Sports. Now, if you were with us last week, you saw champions crowned in the ice dancing and ladies competitions. Today, the pairs and men try to kick off their seasons in a big way. When the men's free skate comes up later in the show, American Todd Eldridge makes his 9th appearance at this event and goes after his 4th consecutive win. With us, as always, the two-time Olympic champion, Mr. Dick Button. And Dick, in his final year of eligible competition, Todd starts his quest for the only title worldwide that's eluded him, an Olympic gold medal.
Well, whether he wins that coveted gold or not, there's no question that Todd is a first-ranked champion. I mean, he's won every other title in eligible skating, and he's stuck to his goals for 10 years through better or worse. And he's a superb spinner. Just watch the centers and the speed of his spins. And he's a cat-like jumper who can land straight up from whatever position he hurls himself into. And he's the hardest worker you ever saw. And on top of that, he's a likable fellow in great condition who's done everything he can think of to prepare himself for this competitive season. I mean, who can't wish him the best of luck?
Everyone in this arena, because he lives and trains right here in the Detroit area. The men's free skate comes up a little bit later, but first it's the pairs. And joining us, Olympic and world champion Peggy Fleming. And Peggy, much like when the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup last year in this building, Russian skaters again are at the forefront.
Oh, that's right, Terry. This competition once again is pointing up the dominance of the Russian pair system. Although our national champions Ina and Dungeon are here, they're currently standing in 3rd place behind 2 very strong Russian teams. Kyoko and Jason still seem to be several steps behind the top world-level teams in polish and consistency, and in this Olympic year, they will have to commit themselves totally to reach the podium. They are chasing teams that have a rich history of strength and unison, but Kyoko and Jason are debuting a new free skate here, and they are always capable of powerful and exciting skating.
And Kyoko and Jason from the U.S. are in 3rd place with 2 heavyweight pairs in front of them. The 2 Russian pairs teams have each won world championships. Lautowa and Bushkov in the lead. They are the reigning world silver medalists. And first to take on Lautowa and Andrei Bushkov of Russia, 4-time winners of this event and the 1996 world champions.
Now, 2 things to watch with this pair. Number 1, the crisp, clean line of her legs. The stretch of her feet is really quite wonderful. Secondly of all, the music they've chosen is very dark music compared to the romantic lightness of some of the other top pairs.
But I think this music really helps their performance. They finally have packaged themselves with an excitement and drama, and watch how this powerful music really adds, I think, to their performance.
The music, Lord of the Dance.
Side by side triple toe loops. He was a little shaky on that landing.
They kind of say that they're not in their best fitness yet because it's still early in the season. But that was pretty light. great, I think, tension in their skating. They're not floppy or sloppy in any way. Look at this throw. Wow. Wonderful tight revolution.
She's very neat in the air. Feet close together.
At times, Yeltsova and Bushkov have felt like the forgotten pair in Russia without the full backing of the Russian Federation, and even came over to America to live and train for a while, but now are back. Their home, St. Petersburg, living and training. They are the reigning European champions.
Look at the stretch on that death spiral.
They both have beautiful body line. They pay attention to all the details. This is a throw triple loop, or toe loop. Nicely done.
They're really not a sensitive pair with a romantic kind of touch. I think they're much crisper and more mechanical and very hard-edged, very tight-edged. But they have wonderful side-by-side unison. See, that's a spectacular lift, but it's not a pretty lift.
But you always feel that they're in control when they skate.
Wonderfully unusual position for a death spiral. We've seen almost every variety of death spiral now that's in the books.
Little hesitation there, but this straight line footwork, watch the quickness. Very intricate choreography, good speed.
Well, they were just off throughout many spots of this program. They didn't end with the music. They kind of lost it on one of those moves, one of the lifts that they did together, and it was not a special performance for them. It may indeed be the fact that they are not in shape yet.
They are the leaders, though. We'll see what the judges thought of their performance when we come back. Performance of Yeltsova and Bushkov. They await their marks after what at least Dick and Peggy thought was a so-so performance.
And here is a look at their side-by-side triple toe loops. They were a little off unison, and he had trouble on his landing, but he held on to it. Not their usual sharpness. And this is the throw triple toe loop that they did real well. Not their usual spring that I've seen in the past.
And the marks for presentation.
Well, the technical merit marks, the first of two sets of marks. 5.6 up to 5.8 the range. And the second set will be for presentation. Remember, this free skate worth 2/3 of the overall score.
And remember, those are very commendable and can certainly win them first place.
Across the stand, please welcome now Marina Katerina and Andrei Krukov.
So Yeltseva and Buzkov have set the standard for the others to shoot at. The first challenge comes from the pair in 4th place after the short program. They are the 2-time national champions of Kazakhstan, Marina Kalterina and Andrei Krukov.
The costumes really reflect the music they're skating to. Swing Kids. Side-by-side triple Salchows. Oh. He obviously messed up on that. Nice double axel, double loop. Getting their side-by-side jumps out of the way at the very beginning. There's a nice lightness and good speed to this pair.
That was a wonderful movement through the air. Such a beautiful turning. A little trouble on the landing. It's very hard to remember that the man is throwing the woman very high and very fast. And she's got to turn and stop the revolution and then land on an 1/8 of an inch blade. That is not an easy move.
Here comes another one, a triple Salchow. She gets wonderful height.
You see, it's the checking of the revolution that seems to be her problem in these 2 last throws.
This is the first appearance for Kalterina and Krukov at Skate America. We saw them at Worlds last season when they finished 12th.
I think they're a couple with a great deal of potential. They're strong and powerful and good individual skaters. They seem to like each other and skate well in each other's company. And that's the ingredients that you need for a good pair.
And they look strong, but yet delicate at the same time. Trouble on that lift. It was supposed to be their tower lift.
They're getting, it seems to me, a little bit sloppy at this point. I think whether it's that they're tired or just unprepared, I'm not sure. But the unison is not working. This is a fun sequence of turns.
Almost dance skater kind of style to it.
Well, that sort of fizzled off at the end, didn't it? I guess they just aren't as well prepared or as experienced in this particular movement as we think they are.
And we have a report that Jason Dungeon, who is set to skate next with Kyoko Ina, has injured his thumb during warm-ups. We'll have a
United States, Kyoko Ina and Jason Dungeon.
So here are the reigning U.S. champions who are trying to challenge the world's elite this season. And Peggy, where might we see the hand injury most affect them?
Well, I think Kyoko, if I was her, I would feel real insecure. Is Jason really going to catch me when he throws me up in the air?
That's a very nice position.
Opening section here with very difficult throws and side-by-side jumps. The first a throw, triple sow cow, but she only did a double.
And that may have been because they were saving themselves because of his problem with the thumb, but certainly the side-by-side triple toes were first rate.
To this throw, triple loop, very nice, great height, good speed on the landing.
She also has wonderful strength on her landings. That's been one of her great assets. Now this next lift, a star lift, is a spot where they could have a little trouble with his hand. Certainly that might account for the fact that the lift had no pizzazz, no stretch, no height to it.
Kyoko could have, stretched and given more extension in that position.
By the way, the scores for Kalterin and Krukov, who were in fourth place after the short program, ranging from 4.7 up to 5.5.
The music, a Polovetzian dance by Borodin, more popularly known as A Stranger in Paradise.
Skaters have used this music for years, very successfully.
Strangers to this event. This is their fourth trip here. Their best finish, second place back in '93.
Another variation from the position in the death spiral.
Difficult lift. Now there's a perfect example of where they miss. The style of that spiral is just not good enough. They are so talented that if they would only get their act together and really commit themselves to training and performing, they could improve that kind of thing and be right at the top level of pair skaters throughout the world. The medal is open. Anyone can get it.
the fire that we're used to seeing from them. There was no real attack to this program.
There was no perfection to it. There was no real... I guess when you see a talented pair skater, particularly when they're American, you want them to do so well. And when they don't really train as extensively as this, as they should be, then I guess you demand more out of them and are sorry when you don't see it.
A nice reception from the crowd here in Detroit, but some work to do for Kyoko Ina and Jason Dungeon. We'll check the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. Kyoko Ina and Jason Dungeon, along with our coach, Peter Burrows, waiting to see what the judges thought of their program.
And here's a look at the first move that they did, the throw double Salchow. I think she just didn't go in with confidence. Maybe she was feeling insecure about his thumb. And then they followed it by side-by-side triple toe loops that they did very well.
Although there doesn't seem to be any problem with his thumb in this lift, there seems to be quite a bit of security here. This move they invented, quite effective.
And they're reacting to their technical merit marks, 5.5 up to 5.8. And Kyoko and Jason will have to take care of that injury, go back to work and practice not only for the Worlds and Olympics, but for the U.S. Nationals. The team that held the U.S. title before Ina and Dungeon took it away last year. Jenny Mino and Todd Sand, we expect to see them back in Philadelphia and here on ABC for those championships. And there the presentation marks 5.5 up to 5.8, but those are not as good as Buchkov and Yeltsova. And here are the final skaters of the pairs free skate. Evgeny Shishkova and Vadim Naumov of Russia in second place after the short program.
They have very crisp, sharp movements and lots of attention to detail.
The demands on pair skaters for also being competent in all of the single moves are extraordinary. Look at this throw. Wonderful revolution in that tight leg straight down. That was brilliant and certainly made up for the side-by-side difficulties that they had in the triple toe loops just beforehand and that they're having here. Remember, this pair won the World Championship in 1994. Yeltsova and Buchkov won it also. It just shows the seesawing that is going on in the world of pair skating right now, and that it's open to any skater that really comes through and, so to speak, nails it.
But there's such a demand on the single skating in pair skating today that they have to be strong in the single jumps as well as the pair moves that they do. Stretch. Very controlled positions up in the air.
Wasn't that a beautiful switch over? This is really a very lovely pair. They're not big, dramatic.
Everything looks very effortless.
They are, in a way, very romantic.
One of the reasons they haven't enjoyed more success since that 94 World Championship, injuries. They've been on and off the ice with those. A year ago, it was the collarbone injury to Naumov that kept him off the ice.
Nice throw, triple toe loop, good height.
I think of all the pairs, they have the most sensitivity and the most elegant line.
Look at how crisp all of these moves are, the unison, the way their bodies move together. Very well done.
lovely position.
Very nice arch in her back on the forward death spiral.
They were in second place after the short program. The big question right now is whether or not they can stay there, or will Ina and Dungeon of the U.S. hold that spot. They are right behind Lautowa and Plushenko at this point.
And here is a look at her throw, triple sow cow lift, that back inside edge takeoff. Very nice in the air, very neat, confident, good speed. And the side-by-side double axels that she fell on, she did not finish the rotation. She just didn't get that spring up in the air.
Well, they had the mistakes earlier in their program. We'll see how much they cost them as they await their marks. The first set for technical merit, they range from 5.3 up to 5.6. The Russian pair, Lautowa and Plushenko, the 96 world champions who lead right now. Ina and Dungeon of the U.S. in second place.
And this couple certainly are complete and mature as a pair. They don't quite have the same strength that some of the other great Russian pairs have had, but they are very mature and elegant.
The marks for presentation, 5.6 up to 5.8 the range for Evgeny Shishkova and Vadim Naumov of Russia. In the inside Joe Louis Arena for the first step on the road to the Olympics. Hi again, Terry Gannon along with Dick Button. The men's free skate is about to get underway, and Dick, the focus here is clearly on American Todd Eldredge, the current leader.
Well, I think the real question to ask is, what's the clue to Todd Eldredge's character? I mean, one insight might be that he's an avid and first-rate golfer. Now, to be that, you and everybody else knows that it takes patience, care, steadiness, and competitive focus. I mean, no golfer worth his salt can allow himself to get the yips on a 2-foot putt. Well, I doubt Todd will allow himself any yips on his triple whatever. And when he lands those beauties, it's funny how suddenly he takes command of the whole arena.
No yips or shanks lately for Todd Eldredge, but there may have been back in 1988 when he made his first appearance at Skate America after winning the World Junior title. This year, another World Junior champion, Russian Evgeny Plushenko, is skating in this event for the first time. And with his 15th birthday on November 3rd, he could be a skater we watch for a long, long time, Dick.
Well, you know, the big question here is, do we have a male version of what's happened in the ladies' event? I mean, here's a young skater who grew a foot in the last year, who is the underdog, who is simply a magnificent jumper, and even more important, seems to have a sense of the dramatic. Now, I don't know if I personally can stand the pressure these young whizzes throw at us. You know, we're in for a roller coaster ride, but the highs should be inspirational enough to let us handle the lows that are sure to come.
So far, all highs for Todd Eldredge. He is the leader after the short program, just ahead of the young Russian, Evgeny Plushenko, and Vyacheslav Zegorudnik of Ukraine, on the verge of greatness the last 4 or 5 years. He right now is in third place. But it's been an extraordinary decade for Todd Eldredge. World and national titles, but also low points that almost drove him from the sport. Now he pursues the one title worldwide that has eluded him, an Olympic gold medal. Here's Jimmy Roberts.
Well, Terry, this is Todd Eldredge's 9th Skate America. When he first started competing nearly a decade ago in this competition, the world was a vastly different place. For instance, back then, there was a country called the Soviet Union. Americans might have thought it would take years to get a Democrat back into the White House, and if you were talking Florida Marlins, you were probably talking about dinner, because back then, there was no such baseball team yet. In the world of figure skating, Tara Lipinski was 6 years old. All these years later, the story is so familiar. The son of a modest Cape Cod fisherman leaves home at the age of 10 in search of his dream, a pursuit that was funded by car washes and bake sales. And once it seemed like he would be the next great one, the successor to Hamilton and Boitano. And he was right on track, winning the World Junior title in '88, then back-to-back national titles before the age of 20. A a world bronze medal in '91. But then he hit the first of many bumps in the road. A back injury hobbled him at the '92 Olympics, and his plans were delayed. 2 years later, he skated poorly at nationals. Didn't even make the team for Lillehammer. Did he think he had one more Olympic chase left in him?
I was hoping that things were going well in 90, 91. 92 was hopefully going to be the year, but that didn't work out. And then 94 comes along, and that didn't work out. So we just kind of stuck with it, and hopefully 98 will be the year.
The quest began anew in 1995, with the Nationals in Providence close to his Massachusetts roots. He began to climb back, winning his third national title. And finally, in 1996, he won the world title that for so long had eluded him. It was an emotional moment, one he shared with the parents who allowed him to leave home in search of the dream. Now, they share one more goal, but Todd is trying to think of this season like any other.
As far as, thinking about it being my last year, I don't really think about that too much. I do a little bit, but, I think of it just as any other year. I have to approach every competition, be aggressive, and be well-trained. I don't try and get too sentimental, I guess you could say, before the competitions. Maybe after the Olympics is over and the World Championships, then there's time to go, that was it. That's, hopefully it'll be a good thing at that point, but, hopefully I'll have some good memories.
He's fought so many battles to get to this point. Todd Eldredge on the ice warming up. Dick, I know he says he doesn't think about the Olympics, but it has to creep into his mind at some point.
But there's no doubt about it. Whatever he wants to tell himself is just fine if it works for him. And that's the only thing that counts in this entire, competitive season.
But the entire atmosphere surrounding this first event, too, looking ahead to the Olympics for Todd Eldredge. And he goes down on the ice.
Oh, that's not...
Todd Eldredge down on the ice right now, holding his right wrist.
Oh, that does not look good. Oh, look at the anger that's coming out. This
writhing
is
in pain, Dick. Look at his legs kicking on the ice, and this arena has fallen silent.
What a stupid way to injure yourself. Not stupid on his part, but just in the whole spectrum of things. He obviously just tripped on a piece of ice. He wasn't doing a single jump. He wasn't doing anything. Obviously, he just caught his toe, and let's hope that it's not that serious.
And that's the doctor who's working on him right now, Richard Callahan, his coach out there. Take a look at what happened.
Look, right, you can see it. It's just, it looked as though he caught his shoulder, that he must have fallen and tried to protect himself with his arm. And
it is that right arm, whether it's the wrist that he's holding right now or higher up on the arm or the shoulder. But look at his face, obviously in pain and maybe also just scared right now. Everyone in this arena, there's not a sound in this arena.
I just hope it's not serious.
Rinkside, and you can see the mobility in that right arm. Now, we've gotten word that he dislocated his shoulder as he braced his fall on the ice, and he popped it back in as he rolled over. He was just trying to brush away a little piece of frozen ice, and that's when he tripped, Dick.
Well, you can see exactly what happened right here. First, the fall, the shoulder out of place, the protection of it not correct. He's in agony at this point, but now watch right here. You can see the shoulder pop back into place. Two things happen as a result of that. Number one, the pain is excruciating, and two, there is residual sensitivity. And that's the question of how much that will affect his skating.
Well, he can compete. He's scheduled to skate second. So with a very quiet and stunned crowd here in Detroit, where Todd Eldredge lives and trains, this men's free skate begins in a much different light. Here is Evgeny Plushenko, the teenager from Russia, in second place.
Now, one of the most dramatic things that this young man does is a quadruple toe loop. I've seen him do it in practice with great ease. but he's not secure in it. And his coach, Alexei Mishin, has elected not to do it in this competition because he felt he couldn't beat Todd Eldredge. Now, with the change in position, he attempts it, but falls. What a change in plan.
So the strategy doesn't work in light of the injury to Eldredge. And by the way, the quad jump is one that Plushenko first landed just 10 days ago in practice.
But this may salvage the situation. A triple axel, triple toe loop. And that in turn, not fully successful.
When you hear about his background, Evgeny's accomplishments seem all the more impressive. Born into a very poor family in the industrial area in southern Russia, his coach, Alexei Mishin, discovered him, moved him to St. Petersburg, and he now lives with his mother in a rented room in a St. Petersburg apartment.
It's hard to believe he's 14 and that he's grown almost a foot in the last year. Triple Lutz. Triple toe loop. You can see that he has a certain sense of the dramatic. He's also got speed and energy. That's a very hard position to take at the end of that flying camel.
This free skate 4.5 minutes long. It accounts for 2/3 of the overall score. Todd Eldredge due to skate next. And we get word now that he has made his way out near the ice and he will come out and skate.
Triple axel. Hey, catch foot position in the Denise Bielman position. That's the first male I've seen with that kind of limberness. He has a great deal of energy. The choreography not particularly enlightening. A wonderful triple salchow. And he certainly has talent in the spinning area. Now this is a young man with an innate talent, with a wonderful jumping ability, and let's only hope that he can develop choreographically and stylistically to where his skating means something. The potential is there. The question is whether there will be anything that will follow through on this basic ability.
The Russian teenager taking his final bows to a crowd that's just erupted. Unfortunately for him, the cheers are to greet Todd Eldredge. We just got our answer. The son of a Massachusetts fisherman has fought through more adversity than this, and he will skate when we come back after this message and a word from our Skate America. The young Russian sits alongside his coach, Alexei Mishin, and there is Todd Eldridge. So far, so good, working out that dislocated shoulder and looking pretty good right now. He skates next. Here are the technical merit marks for Evgeny Plushenko. 5.5 up to 5.7.
And those marks certainly reflect the fact that he has some wonderful jumping ability and accomplishments there. And look at this quadruple. Now, he had that completely, the full revolution, the height that was necessary to complete the revolution, and he just wasn't able to hold on the landing. But that's a commendable try.
You may indeed be looking at the future of men's figure skating, or at least a star on the scene. The presentation marks 5.6 up to 5.8. He was in second place after the short program. So now the program that everyone here has waited to see. Little did any of us know, though, that it would become a microcosm of his entire career. Time and time again, he's been knocked down, almost gave the sport up at some point, but he's come back and gone even higher every time out. He's won this event 4 times already.
I think the question is here, how much the residual pain will hurt him in doing his triple jumps? That's the only question. The music from the film Gettysburg.
Our first look at Todd Eldridge's Olympic free skate.
Nice position. Now, the first move that he's planned is a triple toe loop, and that should tell us how much his arm is hurting. Well, very, very nice. But a more difficult technical feat is the triple axel combination. Frequently does a triple axel triple toe loop, but there's no requirement for that second triple there. See how he takes this. First is triple axel, forward edge, double toe loop. Beautiful combination, very well done. There almost seems to be no effect whatsoever.
The expression on his face, almost one of relief or perhaps pain. That's one thing none of us can tell is how much pain he's actually in on the ice.
Now this sort of typifies his spinning ability. Look at how well he centers the spin. That means keeping the skating foot turning in one spot and not traveling over the ice. Triple jump combination. Watch him turn, and that deep curving edge. Very hard to do that. Triple sit, double toe loop, and an axel sit spin. Watch the entrance to this triple Lutz, the outside edge right there. Look at how clean it is all the way to the end. We've seen the edge switch to an inside edge among the ladies. That was a cause célèbre during the women's competition. But he is right on a back outside edge, clean as a whistle from beginning to end. I do notice is that he's skating very conservatively and relatively slowly. Whether that's a result of his dislocated shoulder or the impact of the choreography is a question to be determined. That would have been a triple loop. It was a double. Planned a triple axel right here. That was a beauty. Salchow, double Salchow rather. The backspin. That's as good as they come. And oh wow, doesn't this audience want him to win?
We've seen Todd Eldredge through the years do some impressive things. This performance might be right there at the top. What a gutsy free skate. The hometown kid. A lot of people in this Joe Louis Arena thought he was down for the count during warm-ups, including me. If you know his makeup, though, as you do, Dick, you knew he'd do anything he could to get back out on the ice. And a little bit of pain as he leaves now, but what a performance from Eldredge.
You could be...
Even a dislocated shoulder moments before he took the ice couldn't keep Todd Eldredge from really pulling off a brilliant performance, a gutsy performance, Dick.
But look at this triple toe loop and the ease with which he goes into it, the calmness. I mean, they're just very fine, very... I can't use any other word than easy. And I think that's nice to see in this program, that everything was much calmer. And look at this. I mean, that was just wonderful. You know, good spring on it all the way around.
Well, he led after the short program. There's his coach, Richard Callahan, who held his breath when Todd was down on the ice during the warm-ups. Technical merit marks, 5.6 up to 5.8.
Well, the real value of these marks is that they are attesting to his courage in coming back and skating so well under the conditions.
Trying to win his 4th consecutive Skate America and his 5th overall. The presentation marks 5.8 up to a perfect 6.0. Jimmy Roberts has made his way down to have a word with Todd. Jimmy?
Well, Terry, thanks very much. I think Todd Eldredge with a dislocated right shoulder, a 6.0, a perfect score from the Canadian judge. I would imagine you'd be satisfied with that. Tell us how much pain you're in right now and how much pain you were on the ice.
Quite a bit, actually. I mean, something I've never done before. You know, I guess I just fought through it. I went out there. I mean, it hurt on everything, but you know, I said, you know, this is my last year, gonna be my last Skate America. So, you know, great to have a 6-0 in my last Skate America and to go out and skate as well as I did.
All right, tremendously courageous performance from Todd Eldredge here in his last Skate America. Terry, back to you.
All right, Jimmy, you knew he wouldn't be left out of this one here in Detroit, where he lives and trains. Well, here's another U.S. national champion. Won a couple of those in 93 and in 94. In 5th place, though, after the short program. Here's Scott Davis.
Now the music, various selections from the soundtracks of Henry V and Hamlet.
And like Todd Eldredge, this is his last year as an eligible skater.
And he needs this triple axel, which became a single axel. has always had a problem with nerves in competition, not being able to sustain the level of skating that he can easily do. And he's also been working with Galina Znievskaya, the coach of Viktor Petrenko. You can see the influence of that in this choreography.
As well as with a sports psychologist to work on those nerves.
Was a triple axel, a little bit of a double foot on the end, but it certainly didn't disrupt the flow of this program. A double loop. That seems to be the history of his skating. He can do one really difficult triple jump and then miss or pull out of the next one. Not a consistent skater. A double axel, one of the simpler jumps in this program, and he fell out of the landing. Good back sit spin and a good back scratch, almost.
It's very exasperating to watch sometimes Scott Davis skate because he is a first-rate talent, a first-rate athlete, but he's always had trouble holding it all together.
Scott Davis, in his last year as an eligible skater, trying to get back to that form that won him 2 national championships in the early 90s. Will have his marks when we return. This is the season that he'd like to put his name back on the skating map. Right now he's trying to move up from 5th place.
And this combination was really quite spectacular. First, a triple Lutz. And landing and stepping up into a double toe loop.
We'll see what the judges thought. He sits alongside Galina Znievskaya, who is Viktor Petrenko's coach and mother-in-law, by the way. The technical merit marks range from 5.2 up to 5.4.
A very tight marks, and justified because he just didn't exhibit all the wonderful spinning ability that he has. And the jumps were hit and miss throughout the program.
5.6. And the marks for presentation, 5.4 up to 5.6 for Scott Davis. Remember, Todd Eldridge is in the lead, followed by the young Russian, Evgeny Plushenko.
So warm welcome now for Alexander Out.
Here's another Russian skater who we first really saw at Skate America a couple of years ago when he won a bronze medal here. Alexander Opt, who is 21 years old and lives in Moscow. And he's in 4th place after the short program.
Triple axel showed exactly where this young man fits, and that is square in the middle of the Russian model of young male skaters. Long-legged, wonderful jumpers with a certain amount of talent musically and choreographically and from a presentation point of view. This is not certainly the finished example, but look at the height he gets on those jumps. That's good spring.
We've already seen Evgeny Plushenko skate, but Ilya Kulik comes to mind. Certainly one of the top skaters and one of the favorites for a gold medal at the Olympics this year and the World Championships.
This triple axel. This medley of sort of Middle Eastern music. I think he kind of likes it because he seems to be feeling it pretty well.
You got to be pretty loose to be able to do this. A lot of people doing that in the stands right now, too. The crowd has joined in.
Triple loop. He sort of has a very strange kind of landing edge. There seems to be almost an unsteady ankle position there. He certainly doesn't seem to point his feet or to have much control within the ankle itself. Now watch the landing on this and see how it fares. Certainly fairly strong edging. Nice triple Salchow. Again, you see the edge on the landing just doesn't hold true. And that wasn't, and even here on these butterflies.
Think he's getting tired?
No, I think his feet don't give you a sense of security. I mean, some skaters make you feel totally comfortable. Others make you a little bit nervous. And he had a lot of nice flair and a lot of interesting kind of moves. The solidity wasn't there. The confidence wasn't there. Or, I mean, we didn't feel the confidence. But he does have nice spring in his jumps.
Well, he's in 4th place after this short program. A lot of supporters here, too, for the 21-year-old Russian Alexander Opt. We'll check his scores when we return to Detroit after this message. And the men's free skate continues, and this is the final skater of the competition. And he does have a chance to win. In 3rd place after the short program, here is 25-year-old Vyacheslav Zagorudnik, the 3-time Ukrainian champion and 1996 European champion.
And his music, Alexander Nevsky by Sergei Prokofiev.
Very serious program.
He has yet to medal in 6 tries here at Skate America. By the way, the scores for Alexander Apt of Russia range from 5.5 to 5.7 for technical merit and 5.5 up to 5.9 presentation.
Few skaters that is capable of a quadruple jump. It's listed in his program as coming up next. But remember, there's no obligation for him to attempt it. Let's see if he does it right here. Triple toe loop.
With all the talk about the quad jumps this year, when you look ahead to the U.S., the Worlds, and the Olympics, the only one to try it here, Plushenko, and he did not pull it off.
It's not so easy. Wonderful height, leaning out of the circle, unable to control the landing edge. Was a triple flip jump. He curved the back inside edge going into it and popped out of the jump. You simply can't make these kind of mistakes if you're struggling for the how many ever times it is that he's been trying to make a medal in this championship.
The 7th try, and he did tell us the other day that he's not in top condition. He just moved to Richmond, Virginia a couple of months ago. His coaches moved there, and he is now there, and he says he's much happier, much better conditions in terms of practice and less pressure in Ukraine.
Well, I think if he's been in this event now 7 times and always up to this point ranged from 4th to 5th with 1/6 place, I think maybe they're telling him something.
He was 4th at the World Championships last year.
He's not going to medal here, I don't think. I could be wrong, but if he does, it'll be a bronze medal. You can see the body language there. You know, if you're going to compete in these things, you've really got to get yourself into training condition. There's no excuse for not being in the best condition. Otherwise, stay out of it and don't come into it. He's tried too long, and he hasn't been able to correct his mistakes. Now, Zaghi starts off wonderfully in this triple axel. Straight edge, good height, but right there he begins to lean out of the circle, and that absolutely screws up any possibility of his landing this jump. And in this, Salka, watch this takeoff edge right there. You can see it just sort of slip off the heel, and that puts him in a bad position in the air, and the incomplete jump results.
The new resident of Virginia by way of Odessa, Ukraine, Vyacheslav Zegorudnik, along with his coach, Valentin Nikolaev, not looking forward to what he's going to see in terms of his scores. It was not a good performance. The technical merit marks 4.9 up to 5.3.
And that's about right. There weren't really wonderful spins. There was a very stiffness to the choreography, and he messed up the jumps.
And he was in third place after the short program, a guy who's been on the cusp, right in a position to make moves the last few years, hasn't really been able to do it. 96 European champion. Marks for presentation 5.2 up to 5.6, so they're not good enough. And welcome everyone to Thrifty Car Rental Skate America International. We are in Detroit, Michigan at Joe Louis Arena, the site of the 1994 U.S. National Championships. Today, the new season gets underway. And hi everyone, I'm Terry Gannon. Welcome again to the first major international event of the figure skating season. An important one too, because this is where skaters unveil programs and engage reactions to them with an eye on the upcoming Olympics, as well as the U.S. National and World Championships, which you can see right here on ABC Sports. Now today we'll see the ice dancing and ladies competitions. It's round one of Kwan versus Lipinski from Detroit. Then next Sunday our coverage continues with champions being crowned in the men's and pairs events. Back to the present right now, though, as we welcome in Peggy Fleming. Peggy, the rivalry between Michelle Kwan and Tara Lipinski, we saw it develop last year, but now it's reached an entirely different level.
It really has, Terry. This is a really exciting time in U.S. figure skating because we have the two ladies' favorites for the Olympic gold medal. And every step in an Olympic year is critical. For Tara and Michelle, Skate America is that first step. They're sizing each other up for the season, and I really feel that having a competitor close on your heels challenges you to work even harder, and these two exceptional athletes are doing just that. Tara's strength is still those triple jumps, which are extraordinary, but Michelle Kwan is an athlete of depth and talent, and she has learned a command of the ice that is truly breathtaking.
And you know what it's like being a teenage world champion. So does Mr. Dick Button, who we welcome in right now. Dick,
say that part about the teenage being the
maybe
teenage
a few
champion.
years, I think.
Well,
we'll give you that. But you've watched Michelle and Tara skate all week in practice. Where are they now as compared to when we saw them compete the last time?
Well, one major difference is that Tara seems to have grown a couple of inches since last year. Now, her camp admits to the fact that she's grown only 1 inch, and probably that's because they don't want the subject of her growth to become a cause celeb. But there's no need to worry. She has lucked out. It all landed in her legs, and her proportions are just wonderful for skating now. Artistically, she is much more conscious of line and position, but she's just beginning to understand that great artistry is internal, not external. Michelle, on the other hand, skates like she's learning that there's a lot more to life than child's play. Her short program gives me the goosebumps. There's a lightness to it and a joy to it that makes me hold my breath. They both may still be teenagers, and they both may be daddy's little girl, but I've got to tell you, their approach to skating shows that they are sophisticated, mature strategists.
Thinking of strategy and nerves, no doubt a part of the ladies' short program warm-up. Tara Lipinski now on the ice getting ready.
Well, warm-ups can be very difficult. They can sometimes be very prophetic by telling you how the skater is doing, and sometimes it doesn't mean anything at all.
And Michelle Kwan hopes it's the latter. Now, the short program lasting an arduous 2 minutes and 40 seconds with 8 required elements, Peggy.
Yes, and there is a lot of pressure on the skaters. They're required to do 3 jumps, 3 spins, and 2 step sequences. The key being the combination jump, and the level of difficulty can vary greatly with the skaters.
Representing Nikodinov.
And taking the ice first is the 17-year-old from San Pedro, California, who we saw finish an impressive 4th at last year's U.S. Nationals. Here is Angela Nikodinov.
And she really was a breath of fresh air last year.
And this is a program that she skated at the Nationals last season, choreographed by her coach, Peter Oppegaard.
She really has a stunning talent if she chooses to show it. This triple Lutz was really very solid. She almost seems to, in the practice sessions here, to be guarded about her skating and not to let loose. But when she chooses to do so, she can be really first-rate.
Nice double axel. She takes one element at a time. She looks very careful.
I think that's one of her problems, is that she is so careful and very controlled. She doesn't seem to let loose.
And talking to the skaters, they say that happens more often in the short program because you're trying not to make a mistake throughout the entire 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
It's like skating on eggshells.
I don't think that's the case here. I think she's just naturally conservative or concerned about letting loose.
Triple flip.
If you notice something, all of these triple jumps are very solid and very steady. Final combination spin with not more than one change of foot.
Nice job.
And finally, a smile.
And a sigh of relief. This is her first big international competition. She's competed at the U.S. Nationals. She's already qualified to make the junior world team from the U.S., but this is the first time on an international scale she's skated in an event this big. Angela Nikodinov. And coming up next, our first in Detroit, Angela Nikodinov of the U.S., along with her coach, Peter Oppegaard, and there are her scores for required elements. They range from 4.9 up to 5.6.
And they're very strong because, essentially, her triple jumps are very solid.
And here is a look at her combination jump, a triple Lutz, which takes off from an outside edge. It looked like maybe she went to an inside, but she's a very solid jumper into a double toe loop. Looked very relaxed in them.
Well, this is her first big competition, first major international competition. She was hoping for a good start. And here are her marks. The presentation, they range from 5.0 up to 5.6.
And that represents a very solid program with no major mistakes, but it also represents a performance that could have had more excitement.
Time we ever saw them, they seemed to be impossibly little girls doing preposterously difficult things.
Lipinski, and she's only 4 years old.
It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us.
Now they have both arrived at a place where there's really only room for one. The top step. For Michelle, it really started in 1996 with her first national title, and later a dramatic victory at Worlds. Lipinski had yet to arrive.
Single flaw there. She gave nothing, up nothing for that performance. Absolutely the best.
And a lot of dreams came true that night. Skating so well, winning the medal. Just overall, it was the best.
For a year, she was unbeaten. Yet when she returned to defend her national title, she fell 3 times. It was the beginning of the most difficult, perplexing year in her skating career.
I didn't skate very well, and I got off the ice, and I was like, this is crazy. I'm killing myself, you know. I'm putting myself through torture, and I'm not loving skating as much as I did.
Meanwhile, 14-year-old Tara Lipinski had arrived. She skated flawlessly and fearlessly, stealing Kwan's national title away.
She held on with the concentration, and this is the final move, running camel spin. Now watch the rest of this, and this audience already on its feet.
How wonderful. Oh.
Good grief. What have we wrought on the world?
The answer was the youngest world champion ever. And after having defeated Michelle at every major competition last year, a rivalry on the order of Everett and Navratilova in this year where there's really only room for one on the top step.
I almost feel a little less pressure than last year because I had so much to accomplish. You know, I was always thinking, you know, I want to be world champion. I would love to be national champion. And I had, you know, last year I didn't even know I was going to do it. So I had so much pressure trying to make those goals for myself. And now that I've accomplished that, it feels kind of, you know, look what I've done, and I can do better this year. There's a lot of things that go through my mind about this coming year. Something I'm looking forward to. This is what I've looked forward to since I was 7 years old, watching the 1988 Olympics. And since then, I was like, I'm going to be at the Olympics. You know, so now my dreams are coming true. I can't wait for this season because it's everything I've wished for. And I think my main goal is to skate well and skate with my heart and really enjoy this whole season.
Kwan.
She may have given up her U.S. and world titles a year ago, but Michelle Kwan says she gained a perspective on how skating fits into her life. She begins to test the approach right now with her first short program of the season.
And the most important thing is the choice of music, all by Rachmaninoff.
And she pulls every note out of this music.
First combination, the dreaded 2-jump combination, the first a triple Lutz. That was as neat and clean as they come. In fact, that was exquisite.
Yes,
gentle and light. There's a joy to her skating now.
Landing position in the double axel. This section, the step sequence, shows the command over the ice that she has with these quick moves. Interprets the music very well.
There's nothing heavy about this. A lightness, a gentle stepping on the ice that really is quite elegant.
It's almost as if she puts no effort into the jump.
Wonderful back position.
look at here at the lean of this forward inside spiral. That is wonderful.
Now that was inspiring skating. Good for her.
This may be where Tara Lipinski lives and trains, but the crowd on their feet here at Joe Louis Arena for Michelle Kwan.
I mean, for me, she really takes a step forward with this program. I just found it, I think probably the thing that makes it work so well is that the music works so well for skating. Romantic, edging, just glorious.
The first obstacle flawlessly overcome. A sigh of relief, a chance to sit back and enjoy for Michelle Kwan, but she can't savor it for long. Her main competitor, Tara Lipinski, takes the ice when we come back. Coach Frank Carroll, no doubt very high marks, and here they are for required elements, 5.7s and 5.8s.
And the clue to these marks is their consistency. They represent the fact that she made absolutely no mistakes. They also represent the fact that she didn't do the most difficult triple jumps that are possible.
Michelle Kwan is known for her artistry. The required element marks very high. We'll wait to see what the presentation marks will
And
be.
this was her solid combination jump, triple Lutz, double toe, very controlled, very nicely done.
And this was that magnificent inside spiral. Look at how the free leg extends directly behind the body. That's what makes it so wonderful. Change of edge to an outside position.
The presentation marks already being read. You can hear the reaction of the crowd. They're all 5.9s. How about that for consistency?
Tells you exactly.
Representing the United States, Tara Lipinski.
And now it's time for Tara Lipinski to try to answer that. She begins her quest for an Olympic gold medal where she lives and trains here in Detroit.
Combination of a triple Lutz. Triple Lutz, double loop. Perfectly done.
I can see an improvement in her artistry. She's holding moves out much longer, really feeling the music more than she did last season. Coming up is a triple flip, more difficult than what Michelle did. Very nicely done.
having lost the hook at the entrance of it, but that really is nitpicking. Now, that was really a first-rate program from so many points of view. The jumps were wonderful. The spins were wonderful. It did not quite have the inner heart that Michelle Kwan had. There is joy here. There is wonderful skating. There's nothing that you can criticize or pick at. It just doesn't quite have the fulfillment, the maturity, the charm, and the joy that Michelle has.
But there's been so much speculation as to who the pressure's on this year, who is the pursuer, who's being pursued. So far, really no indication of either one of them cracking and giving way.
I can answer your question. Both are being pursued.
Now the triple Lutz is supposed to take off from an outside edge. Watch here where Tara switches to the inside edge, and this is a common fault which makes this jump a little easier. And here was a look at the bobble she did on her camel. She just didn't get a hook into it, but she saved it, and it was a very minor fault.
So Tara, along with her coach Richard Callahan, and remember that Michelle Kwan scores 5.7 and 5.8 for required elements, so Tara's are a little bit lower than that. The lowest, a 5.5.
And that reflects the fact of the mistakes that she made, even though she did more difficult triple jumps than Michelle Kwan did.
And here are the presentation marks. They're in the 5.7 to 5.8 range. Remember, Michelle Kwan had all 5.9s for presentation, so it is Kwan who takes the early lead here at Thrifty Car Rental Skate America International. Much more skating left, though. We're back to Detroit after this message and a word from our ABC stations. We welcome you back to Detroit for the final skater of the ladies' short program, Yulia Lautowa, the 4-time Austrian champion.
There's a marked improvement in every aspect of her skating from last season. More speed, more height in her jumps.
And she's back living in Moscow, which is where she is originally from.
And her opening jump combination is triple Lutz, double toe.
And the turn between the two jumps is what is going to destroy the mark on that movement. The two-jump combination calls for no turns or steps between the two jumps.
Wow. She really wanted to land that.
A layback spin. The leg very weak here. In fact, none of the laybacks that we've seen in this program so far have been A+.
She's finishing off moves a lot more and skating to the music more than she did last season, relating to the audience. Nice position in this flying camel.
Remember, there must be, sorry, Peggy, there must be a minimum number of 6 revolutions in the landing position. That layback position again. She's really very charming, isn't she?
Yes, I think she left her performance on the practice sessions.
Yeah, the technique didn't hold her up.
She won her first Austrian national championship at the age of 12. She was only 16 at this point. Came in 4th last year at this event, Yulia Lautowa.
And here is her triple Lutz. Double toe combination. She reaches back with the takeoff and has trouble on this landing. Takes a turn and goes into the double toe. So she will be marked off. It won't be a combination. And this is her triple flip. She also had trouble on the landing, but held on to it, so she will get credit for that.
Her coach, Marina Kudryavtseva, offering support, and there are the required element marks, 4.5 up to 5.2.
And they're generally low because, frankly, she had a lot of problems all the way through that program.
And the marks for presentation, 5.0 to 5.5. She finished 4th a year ago at this event. Disappointing short program for Yulia.
Well, there's basically very poor technique here.
So here are the standings after the ladies' short program. Michelle Kwan just ahead of Tara Lipinski. Lavrin Shook edges out Angela Nikodinov for that 3rd spot. But so far, so good. The first step out of the way for Michelle Kwan. She is with Jimmy Roberts right now.
All right, Terry, thanks very much. And Michelle, you said this is not only a new program for you, but it's a new attitude that you've been working on. Try and enjoy the ride a little bit more. Did that help you at all tonight?
Yes, I just, when I was warming up, I was having a lot of fun, but I was doing a little mistakes, and I was trying to wake myself up. And when I got out there, and I heard the crowd going, and it just lifted my spirit, and I just let it go and had a lot of fun.
Is it any easier coming into a new season not wearing the crown on your head?
Well, I can't say that because I wouldn't want to wear the crown on my head now, but, you know, I'm the underdog now, as they would say, and I just got to go out there and just look at myself and just say, I just want to skate my best and not worry about anything else.
All right, Terry, well, here we are at Joe Louis Arena, and it looks like we've got Ali and Frazier. The only thing is we're going to have to wait a little while to see who's playing which role.
All right, Jimmy, the first of many rounds that we'll see all season long goes to Michelle Kwan. She is the leader after the ladies' short program, but plenty of time left for Tara Lipinski to come back here in Detroit. The ladies' free skate comes up in a little bit. Once again, everyone, to Detroit, Michigan. We're at Joe Louis Arena as our coverage of Thrifty Car Rental Skate America International continues, and the ice dancing teams are on the ice warming up for the free dance, including Elizabeth Punselin, who won this event in 1994 along with her husband, Jared Swallow. They have won the U.S. Championships 4 times, and they are in the lead at this point after the original dance. Pusapoli and Margalio of Italy in 2nd, Mrazova and Shimacek of the Czech Republic in 3rd place.
Representing the United States, Elizabeth Punselin and Jared Swallow.
And this free dance begins with the leaders, Punselin and Swallow of the U.S. in this their last year as eligible competitors. They would love to go back to the Olympics with a good showing and start off this Olympic year with a win near their hometown of Pontiac, Michigan.
The music, a tribute to Elvis Presley.
As we begin this Olympic season, this performance really holds a lot of meaning for Liz Punselin. It was in this very building in 1994 with her father watching, and she and Jared won their 2nd national championship. But then just days before making their trip to Lillehammer for the Olympics that year, his death occurred. They went on to finish 15th in Lillehammer, but would love to capture a medal this time around.
And of course, can't help falling in love. Now they've picked this homage to Elvis Presley because they wanted to evoke a more romantic time when a boy and girl danced together, not opposite each other, not against each other, but together.
Kids these days, huh?
And of course, what represents that are these long, sweeping moves, the edges, the emphasis on long lines, and the togetherness that they show.
free dance worth 50% of the overall score. It lasts 4 minutes. Liz and Jared, the current leaders.
They have just wonderful security, control. Their edges are so firm. Look at this long line that she emphasizes. Great turnout of the feet. And of course, the romanticism not at all hurt by the fact that they are happily married. And finally, surrender.
Sixth in the world a year ago.
One of the things that's interesting about them is the unison that they have, the way they relate to each other, their togetherness. Even that last pose shows the emphasis they placed on line and stretch. A very elegant pair. They're really right at the top rank of world ice dancers.
And even if they weren't here at home, they'd get a great reception from the crowd. Liz Punsalan and Jared Swallow, the leaders, shouldn't have done anything to hurt that in this program. We're back with their marks in a moment.
Team when you join the official USA Figure Skating Team Fan Club. Call 1-800-363-8796 and you'll receive...
Back live in Detroit, Liz Punsalan and Jared Swallow, the reigning U.S. champions, expect to hold the lead. They're the technical merit marks.
And those are fine marks. Remember, ice dancing is a very, very difficult event to judge. And when you see marks that are this high, you know that the skaters have been very good. Look at this slow motion. One of the elements that makes them so wonderful is the line that they get, the speed, the security of the edging. Look at the stretch of her body there. Even though that happens to be a low and rather dramatic position, it shows the sense of proportion and elegance that they have. First rate.
And remember this, the debut in terms of the season, including the U.S. Nationals, the Worlds, the Olympics. Some insight into what lies ahead, Dick.
And these marks even higher.
It's a very high standard that Punsalan and Swallow have set for the others to go after now.
Kusapoli and Marizia Margaglio.
But here's the dance team with perhaps the best chance. In second place, right behind the Americans, here's the Italian dance team of Barbara Fusarpoli and Maurizio Margaglio.
And they were 9th in the 97 World Championships, which puts them right in the same sort of grouping of skaters as on the world level. The music, Amarcard by Nino Rota and Federico Fellini. And obviously, the character is the Fellini characters.
see very few jumps and lifts, and in none of the lifts can the man raise his arms above his shoulders.
Plushenko and Margalio have held the Italian title the last 2 years, and they'll have a distinct advantage when we bring you this season's European Championships, which are in Milan. That is where Maurizio is from originally and where they both lived and trained until very recently.
Now, if you look at the way they're working together, it's very good, but it is not anywhere near as much in unison as what we saw with Punsalan and Swallow. She just apparently dropped part of her costume on the ice. Of course, this is also a very difficult character to create. It's a fun dance. I think they had probably not a very long period of time to work into this dance, and that accounted maybe for some of the rough edges of it, but it certainly was entertaining.
And Fellini is anything but simple.
You better believe it.
Barbara Fusser-Poli and Maurizio Margalio of Italy will have their marks after this message and a word from our ABC station. Margalio of Italy with a lot of support in the kiss and cry area.
And they're their technical marks, which are not as good as Punsalan and Swallow, and shouldn't be. They don't have the same danceability, the same unity, the same two people skating as one, the love affair, the way Punsalan and Swallow do.
And that's why their marks, both the technical merit and the presentation, lower, and they are in second place behind the Americans.
Please welcome now Anna Semenovic and Vladimir
Now with this young couple,
Fedorov.
watch her head and look at the way she projects that chin forward.
Anna Semenovic and Vladimir Fedorov of Russia in fourth place after the original dance, and at least hoping to get into the top three and medal here in Detroit.
The music from the soundtrack Desperado.
It's a couple that's been around for a while, even though Anna's only 19 years old. Vladimir is 26. And they're both from Moscow, but they won a bronze medal at the World Championships back in '93, as well as the Europeans that year.
Well, she certainly is known to attack the rolls. Ooh. Looked to me as though it was just a catch of his toe pick. Well, one thing you can say is they're a very dramatic couple. There's a lot of tension in their skating. Well, that certainly was an energetic, strong-willed performance.
Russian passion there, huh?
Well, certainly a lot of drama and Sturm und Drang and all those wonderful things that the Russians are so good at.
Anna Semyonovich and Vladimir Fedorov of Russia. They're not going to catch the Americans, Punchline and Swallow at the top, but in fourth place after the original dance, they have a realistic chance of moving at least in the second or maybe third place.
One of the small problems they had was right here. Watch her feet as she lands and knocks him off balance. Not the best moment and not easy for them to get back in. But there you can see it in slow motion. Boom, she gave him a real bang and disrupted the flow of that program. But do you think this part of it shows a little overacting?
Nah.
She certainly is letting him know exactly what she thinks.
The over-the-top approach by Anna and Vladimir of Russia. They're their technical merit marks.
And they're not very good. I think that reflects some of the problems they had in the program.
5.6.
And the presentation marks much higher. One or two low ones, but those are high enough to pull them up into a medal position.
2 years ago, tears of joy flowed down the cheek of Michelle Kwan after capturing the World Championship, her crowning achievement. Last season, those were replaced by the wide smile of Tara Lipinski, the youngest world champion in history. Now in this important Olympic season, the two made their debuts in the short program here in Detroit. Michelle captivated the audience with an emotional and inspiring performance. Tara, in front of a home crowd, displayed the energy and enthusiasm for which she has come to be known. But a few slight mistakes have landed her just behind Michelle by the slightest of margins, heading into the ladies' free skate. And welcome once again, everyone, to Detroit, Michigan, Joe Louis Arena as Thrifty Car Rental Skate America International continues here on ABC Sports. Our first look at a rivalry that will intensify throughout the season. And hi again, everybody. I'm Terry Gannon. It is time now for the main event of the day. The ladies' free skate is about to begin, featuring the two favorites for the Olympic gold medal, Michelle Kwan and Tara Lipinski. And Peggy, Michelle was just brilliant during her short program. She is the current leader.
Yes, she was. Watching the ladies warm up for the short program, I was really nervous for Michelle. It wasn't a great warm up, and I know that that can drain your confidence. But I also saw her mind working through those flashes of insecurity. I think Michelle is learning how to harness unexpected nerves. And as we all saw, she skated a brilliant, emotional short program. Now she has to focus once again. In the past, her programs have revolved around serious, dramatic stories. This year, her free skate is more personal. She wants everyone to understand her message, that she appreciates where her sport has taken her, and that she skates from the heart.
No time to let up right now, though. Right behind her is the world champion, Tara Lipinski. And Dick, looking ahead, Tara's free skate, at least on paper, is technically more difficult than Michelle's.
Well, you know, there's a dozen different ways to judge technical merit. I think what we have to remember is that it's been less than a year since this little tyke, Tara Lipinski, has grown into a long-legged nymph and wound her way into our affections. She's got everything. And now it's a matter of just gelling all these ingredients, letting them simmer so the flavors can come out, so to speak. Remember, she's 99% of the way there. But as everyone in the skating world knows, the last 1% of this trip is the hardest.
And here are the standings heading into the free skate. Michelle just ahead of Tara. Yulia Lavanchuk of Ukraine in third, but it is very possible that for the second year in a row, the U.S. could land all three of the top spots.
Representing the United States, please welcome Angela Nicodina.
And the ladies' free skate begins with one of the young skaters from the U.S. who has shown a lot of promise over the past year. In fourth place after the short program, here is Angela Nicodina.
And her music, Cinderella by Prokofiev.
She trains in the same rink as Michelle Kwan and Nicole Bobek at Ice Castle in Lake Arrowhead, California.
She has a wonderful turning ability. She's really a first-rate athlete. Watch the revolution on this double Lutz, triple Lutz rather, double toe loop.
She looked very relaxed doing that.
Unfortunately, she stepped down a little bit and double footed the ending, but that really was just the balance, not the turning capability.
Triple flip, double toe. She elected not to do the double toe, but a nice triple flip.
It was very calm, very gentle, very soft in the knee and the landing. That one not as successfully landed. This layback position, one of the better ones that we've seen, even though the toe of the free leg is slightly down.
This free skate worth 2/3 of the overall score. It lasts 4 minutes. And if you're in the top three heading into this and you win the free skate, you are the overall winner. Remember, Michelle Kwan skates next.
She's been having a little trouble tonight with some of these landings.
But in practice, she's a good jumper. Very solid, nice spring to them.
There's the 12 o'clock chimes. The flight from the Palace Ball.
Nice triple Lutz. She seemed very pleased to land that. Artistry, holding some of these moves out a little longer than she did last year.
You can really see Cinderella in the performance.
Yes.
And she looks the role of a princess along with it, doesn't she?
There was a happy ending to Cinderella as well. Maybe there'll be one for Angela Nikodinov in 4th place after the short program, looking to move up.
I think she's a very talented skater.
We're back with her scores and then the debut of the Olympic free skate of Michelle Kwan when we return to Detroit.
4 times. Don't miss it.
It's not to her free skate, and there they are for technical merit.
She really is a very strong jumper. Her triple jumps are first rate. I think she needs more excitement in her performance. And look at this triple Lutz. Very solid. Slight back inside edge, but a very solid jump, even though there's a slight imbalance right there.
In 4th place after the short program, she's trying to capture a medal here, finishing one of the top 3 spots at Skate America. Now our marks for presentation. A little bit better, 5.2 up to 5.6.
Well, I think if she's going to win a place here, this is the area that she has to work on.
Well, sometimes painful lessons of growing up, Michelle Kwan has chosen a path which puts her every misstep on a very public stage. Now, last year was certainly no fun while it was happening, but that was an important message, one that she feels lucky enough to have heard. Michelle Kwan is taking a deep breath today at a New York City spa.
Welcome to Bliss.
Finding the time to calm both body and mind has become a top priority for this young woman who spent last year battling her greatest enemy, herself.
So many things was bothering me last year, and I was like a little boat, and I was rocking back and forth, and I didn't know where my center was. I just let myself think negative thoughts and really made myself sink to the bottom and never let myself rise.
Many had called her unbeatable, but struggling under the weight of her own expectations, Michelle saw both her national and world titles slip away. Looking back, she firmly believes it wasn't her body that kept her from winning, it was her mind.
It was just the feeling I had that, you know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go past the line, you know, I couldn't win, I couldn't do it.
But she reached a turning point, and it happened at the World Championships not long after a wave of bad news hit the skating community. That week, one of skating's beloved coaches, Carlo Fassi, died unexpectedly. And at the same time, the legendary skater Scott Hamilton revealed that he was fighting cancer.
I remember after the short program, I was really mad. I messed up the combination jump, and then I thought about Scott Hamilton. And then I thought about Carlo Fassi, and I thought, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've worked really hard, and this is not life or death. And I was just thinking, you know, what am I doing here crying? It's not worth my anger or my sadness. I mean, you have to be happy and really try your best, and that's all that matters.
It was a perspective that made things crystal clear. With renewed confidence, she took the ice and skated away with the silver medal.
Standing on the podium, I remember American flag raising, and even though I had the silver medal around my neck, I was really proud because of what I went through and what I've learned throughout the whole year.
Now, less than a year later, Michelle is all about peace, serenity, and above all, having fun. And she has found that the secret to this newfound ease is learning to appreciate her good fortune.
I never really appreciated what it meant to skate well in a competition. I didn't stop and say, take a deep breath, you know? And now I do. Every time I do something good or I skate well, I really cherish the moment.
Please welcome now our next competitor, representing the United States, Michelle Kwan.
She has won the last 2 Skate Americas, but she is trying to stop the losing streak to Tara Lipinski.
Look at the deep breath she's taking.
There's the leader, Michelle Kwan.
She's skating to Lyra Angelica, which means angel's song.
The usual most difficult move at the beginning, her triple Lutz combination. Very light landing. That really was suspended in the air before it landed. This entire program, an elegant tone poem. Gentle positions, nothing hard-edged about it.
Up is a triple combination, which she has planned: triple toe, double toe. Nice triple flip, good spring.
The most dangerous of all jumps, the forward edge jump, double axel.
This may not be the Nationals, the World Championships, or the Olympics, but being around both Michelle and Tara the last few days, you can certainly sense an enormous amount of pressure starting the season.
Well, they're both debuting their long programs that we will be seeing at the Olympic Games and the World Championships and the Nationals. Nice triple loop.
I particularly like this position, the forward inside edge position. It forces the skater to keep the free leg in line with the body when it's on an inside edge.
And this is a wonderful sequence of spins. The layback spin going in the direction on the left, and now spinning in the other direction in a camel spin.
If you noticed, she dropped off the edge of that, which kind of marred the turn, but that was really a very minor infraction.
She really feels this music. Nice triple Salchow. Positions in this combination spin.
Now on this triple Lutz, watch the short entrance that she elects to go into. It almost appears like a triple flip, but it's a triple Lutz.
And nicely done. It's wonderful open extension. Final triple toe loop. breathtaking. Audience is standing up. Well deserved.
Is her father, Danny Kwan?
Can't you just see the weight lifting off her shoulders? What a nerve-wracking moment for this young lady, not to mention her parents.
She says this program is all about the joy of skating, and you could see the smile grow wider as the performance went on. She couldn't do much more than that here in her first free skate of the new season. We'll have her marks after this message and a word from our ABC stations. We're back in Detroit as Michelle Kwan, following her free skate, awaits her sets of marks along with her coach, Frank Carroll.
And look at the height that she gets on this triple Lutz. That's really first rate. Steady, clean, very elegant, and very quiet. And I think that's the hallmark of all of her jumps, like this triple loop shows. Very steady, very secure. Nothing flamboyant or out of place about it.
The first test of the year. She passed, of course, during the short program with flying colors. Now, technical merit marks, consistency, 5/8 all across the board.
And that shows that the judges are in total agreement. It would have been, I think, 1/10 of a point higher had she done more difficult triple jumps.
5.9.
And this is an exquisite move. It shows the joy and the beautiful stretch and flow that Michelle brings to her skating.
And there's Frank Carroll showing his usual great excitement and enormous pleasure, but you know inside he's just as proud as he can be.
Look at the presentation marks now, Dick, all 5 9s across.
Well, that shows that the judges are all thinking alike, that it was a fine performance, even though, in my opinion, it didn't have quite the impact that the short program